Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami.
Dumba Jumden de Jin Jawa da Jum Yandaba Zobe Zanje Rigwa Dan Javzo Demba Dewara Jewa Jigden Jimban Jebu Dube Galo Jurwa Lana Meba Lada Menamje Dumba Zanje Jumden de Bejawa Shanja Dubala Jazelo Chudo Jabzo Che Dumba Jumden de Jen Jawa Dajumba Yandaba Zobe Zanje Riba Da Jazo Demba Tewara Sheva Jigden Kemba Jebu Dube Kalu Jurba Lana Meba Lada menam je damba zanje jumden de penjawa shaja atuba la chaze lo chudo jabzo je ho damba jumden de jen shewa chajumba yandaba zobe zanje rigba dan jabzo demba dewara sheba jigden kemba jibu dube kalu gyurba lana meba Lada menamje dumba zanje jumden de bejawa jaja tuba ala shazelo judo jabzo je ho sanje chudan soje shonama ala chanju pado tane jabzo che Tagi chuje jibe sonama je jola penje sanje jubara sho sanje chudan soje shonama ala janju bado dane jazo che tagi chuje jibe sonama je jola penje Zanje Drupa Zanje Chudan Soji Chonama La Chanju Padu Tani Gyalse Je Tagi Chuje Gibe Sonama Je Jola Penje Zanje Drupa Good morning. It's not really a good morning per se. It's such a gloomy day. And many of you were unaware of it. And we were thinking of going out for picnic today just to meet, kind of potluck outdoor picnic. And we decided against it. And in a way, it was good. Otherwise, we wouldn't be really enjoying the outing because the weather looks cold outside. So this is perfect day to be in with a cup of hot coffee and then tune into my, gibberish. So anyway, I hope you are all well and maybe kind of excited that this is the final class of this first semester of the year. So anyway, welcome to our final class of the semester. So last week, we covered few stanzas on how to transform various adversity into the path. This is so important for us, ordinary beings who are in samsara and will go through all kinds of challenges, all kinds of adversaries. Adversary or adversity now? Adverse situations. Adversity or now I'm confused. One is your enemy, one is difficult situation, isn't it? So anyway, this is very important is just adopting a different attitude. We make some tweaks, some changes to our ordinary thinking when we are faced with difficulties. It may not really solve the problem. It may not eradicate the adverse situation, but it will help us not to lose our peace of mind and then cope better with any challenging situations. And at the same time, these are ways or means to transform into the path, make the difficulties become a practice. How wonderful is that? Since we have no choice but to undergo these experiences, if we have a way to make that into a Dharma practice, that is so wonderful. If we are able to transform any difficulty, any suffering and pain into Dharma, then although we are in samsara, we are incessantly undergoing suffering, but we won't really feel the pain and suffering because every difficult situation we find meaning in experiencing that. We can make it a meaningful event. Without that kind of attitude, it will be a mere suffering, just ordinary pain and suffering. And then because we do not have these means in our hand to apply, we will suffer more. On top of whatever physical suffering we are undergoing, and then because of the failure to adopt the right attitude, it adds on to the mental anguish. And adding these two, we get a sum of ample suffering and pain. So these are the verses to teach us how to manage the difficulties, how to transform the difficulties that we will encounter in our life into the path. So we have already talked about transforming the criticism into the path. That is a very common thing in our daily life, at our working place, at our workplace, wherever we go. There are always people who will find unpleasant things to say about you. And that is actually, especially in the West, main source of depression. When people hear about the criticism against them by others, they lose self-confidence. And then they go into depression. And that's the common theme of the common pattern of the thought is that nobody loves me, everybody hates me, the whole world hates me. There's no point in living. I should end my life. All this because you hear criticism about you. You lose what you call the self-worth. This is very dangerous if we don't know how to cope with others' criticism. It is very dangerous. And the fact is that there will be people, even if you are faultless, even if you are incapable of making mistakes or errors, there are always people who will criticize you no matter what you do. So that's why it is important to transform all this into path, to adopt a particular attitude to counter such what you call the ramifications or the consequences of others' criticism. So that we have already discussed. So today we are turning into other situations. So here the number 16 is transforming betrayal into the path. This is another common occurrence in our life. We encounter people who betray our trust, who are so ungrateful despite our enormous kindness and help that we rendered to that person. I think when you think about it, you can actually recall many incidences. So when we think of these people, what is the first emotion? First emotion that it what is the word now? Engenders or conjures within us. It's always this, if not anger, there is this discomfort, unease. That shows that we haven't reached that level, what Bodhisattvas do. So this is about how we should cope, what we should do when we encounter such betrayal. Where are we? Here it says, Tagi pushin chebar kyangbe mi, Tala trashin tawar chenayang, Negi tabe, Pula mashindu, Lakbar tsewa gyalse laglen yins. Even if a person for whom we have cared, like your own child, even if a person for whom you have cared like own child regards you as an enemy, cherish him especially like a mother does her child who is stricken by sickness. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. It's very difficult, isn't it? Forget about a person whom we have cared, a person whom we haven't really done that much. When that person inflicts harm or even shows anger against us, we get mad at the other person, and all kinds of ill intention arise within us. Then if the person happened to be someone whom we have cared like our own child, imagine how much hurt that would be and how much animosity it would arise. Animosity would arise within us. That is the ordinary person's reaction. But here it says, as a Bodhisattva's practice, as a part of transforming betrayal into the path. Let me rephrase. As a part of a practice to transform transforming betrayal into path, we should we should cherish that person. So this is similar to Langri Thamba's 8 verses on the mind training. Kanla, what is the word? Gegashin Lambi was Kanla Tagi Pendabe, Rewa Chewa, Kanshi, Shindu Mirik, Nue Chenang, Shenyin Tambaratawa Sho. So Shantideva says that we should see that person as our spiritual teacher. Here it says, cherish him especially like a mother does a child who is stricken by sickness. So a mother has so much love and affection, and this is what I call the sense of endearment to her only child. When the child is sick, you care even more. And when the mother is caring for that sick child, even if the child displayed anger and even hits the mother, instead of getting angry, the mother's compassion will increase, because mother understands why the child is so angry and agitated. Because sometimes when a person is sick for a long time, for no reasons, they get easily agitated. And then they react, or they engage in actions because violent actions because of their agitation. Actually, they are angry at themselves being in that situation. They are fed up. So they express their anger at whoever is taking care of. So even such times, mother would never get angry at the child. The reason is that mother understands that whatever anger and violent behavior is coming from this, this agitation, or this being angry about being sick for a long time. So like that mother, when we come across a person who are ungrateful, despite your treating the person as your child, when they treat you like an enemy, their arch enemy, and inflict all kinds of harm, instead of getting angry, we should develop greater compassion to that person. The reason behind is that we understand that the person is being propelled by his anger or his agitation. It is like an insane person. When a crazy person, an insane person, hurls insult at us, we don't get mad at the person, because our brain very quickly interpret it as, oh, that person, he's crazy, something is wrong with his brain, he's insane. So he is not really in control of what he is saying. It is the insanity that is doing all this. So we somehow interpret the situation. So likewise, when we encounter such a person, we should do the same. This is not the person. Tube nyomo tarsigi nyomo tangde kansa means. So Buddha sees the person's affliction as an enemy, not the person who has those afflictions. So of course it does not eradicate whatever harm or insult that person has hurled, or that negative treatment we received. But because of this kind of attitude, it won't hurt us that much. But if you are obsessed on this, how ungrateful this person is, I have done this and this and this. If you go on counting the things that you have done for this person, and now look at him or her, he or she is doing this and this to me, then it will worsen your situation. We will feel more pain and suffering and anguish. So that's the reason. These are ways to mitigate the ramifications of such treatment. And as I mentioned earlier, Langri Rinpoche says that such person, we need to view them as our spiritual masters, our spiritual teachers. And it is not without reason. There are valid reasons. The first reason, or the first way to think, is that why we are so angry at such person who are ungrateful us. Let's say if there are two persons, one whom we have been very kind, and then there's no reciprocity. Instead, there is the harm. Whereas there's another person whom we haven't done much, but there's also a person causing us harm. So between the two, our anger and animosity would be much greater and stronger to the person whom we have benefited. Why is that the case? Because we expect something better from this person. Since I have done, I have offered help to you, you should be reciprocating in a similar way. So there is this expectation. So when there is expectation, when we expect something in return, that is not the Bodhisattva's practice of generosity. Bodhisattva's practice of generosity is focused only on helping the other person. There shouldn't be even an iota or even strain of even a bit of expectation. So when the other person treats us that way, we should remember that, oh, that person is reminding me that as a Bodhisattva, as a Mahayana practitioner, as a practice of generosity, I shouldn't be expecting anything in return. So we should take it as the person giving us that lesson, that teaching, that your practice of generosity is not the Bodhisattva's practice of generosity, because you are expecting something in return, and that is not the way to practice Bodhisattva's generosity. So we should take it as, okay, the person is reminding me that lesson. So in that way, that person is our spiritual teacher. And then another lesson we should take from such incidents is that friends, foes can change. It is uncertain. Even though we give these labels, these are my friends, these are my foes. And then because of this absolute kind of a categorization, we develop different attitude. We develop attachment towards those whom we consider our friends. And then we develop aversion towards those we label them as our foes or enemies. And because of that, we engage in all kinds of negative actions. So now when we look at this situation, the person whom you have treated like your own child, that person one time falls into the category of our friends. Now, because of his action, he is no longer in that category. Now he is moved into the category of my enemy, my foes. So this is a clear lesson that it is uncertain. It can change. Enemies, friends, it can change any moment. Morning's enemy can become our best friends in the evening. Our arch enemy of the morning can become our best friends in the evening. Vice versa. So, after realizing that we will be able to, if we are able to gain insight with conviction in this, in this issue, then we will be able to kind of loosen our grip over my friends, my foe. We will be able to level our attitude, our perception. And because of that, we won't be very, fixed with our attitude, with our perception, with our emotion. So when such incidents occur, or when we encounter such ungrateful person, so we should take it as this person is giving me a lesson that there is no fixed category of enemies and foes. That's one lesson we should see in such incidents. So in that sense, we can understand why we should view that person as our spiritual teacher, who would be giving or sending us the clearest message on this insight, other than those people who betray us. And then these people are the best way to develop our patience. First of all, in order to develop patience, or in order to practice patience, enemy is indispensable. Without a person who cause harms, or without a person who agitate us, there's no way to practice patience. And especially the person whom we expected something different, something more positive in return, when they do the opposite, that can really trigger so much anger and hatred. And if we are able to tolerate or practice patience to that type of person, then it is like we can practice patience with everybody. So in that sense, that person is giving us the best opportunity to practice patience. In that sense, that person is very kind and we show gratitude towards that person. So that's one way to look at such situations in order to cope better. And then finally, when we see all this, we treat them kindly, and then in return we are treated badly. So when we see all this, we should realize that this is what happens when we are in samsara. The other person is also under the influence of delusions and karma, and we ourselves are under the control of afflictive emotions. And as long as we remain in this samsara, in the cyclic existence, we are bound to encounter such situations. So the only way to escape such unpleasant situation is to attain liberation, to escape from this cyclic existence. So when we encounter this, it should motivate us towards pursuing the path to liberation. So that is actually facilitated when this happens. So this is due to the betrayals, or let me rephrase. So this was facilitated by this person whom we see as one who betray us. So when in such situation, that is one way to look at it. Okay, very good. Because of this person, now I see the need to achieve emancipation, to achieve nirvana. Because as long as I am in this samsara, I am bound to encounter not just one, countless such incidences. So I better strive towards achieving nirvana. So in that sense, the one whom we see as our betrayer has a value. So these are the ways. And then of course, it says in the Lojong teachings, Rang la Nujin, sorry, where is that? Anyway, the point is that why we are experiencing such consequences, why we are encountering such betrayal is because we have done the same in the past. As a Buddhist, we subscribe to karma, the law of causality. Nothing happens without a cause. Not only nothing happens without a cause, but it does not happen without a concordant cause. The cause must correspond to the result. So in the past, we must have done the same to another person, and that's why we are experiencing the consequences. So in that sense, instead of feeling angry, we should be happy that, okay, I'm encountering this, so that means that I am exhausting that negative karma. Since I'm experiencing it, that means that I have I have created the causes. And now that I am experiencing it, that means I'm exhausting that cause. So I will no longer have to undergo such experience. I mean, this particular experience. And also we take from such experience that I should engage in purification practice. There are only two ways to prevent ripening the results of any negative actions. One way is to experience that. Through experiencing the result, we exhaust that karma. The another way is through purification. Before it ripens, we just purify and cleanse it so that we don't have to experience. So when we undergo these things, so we should, okay, this is the karma I have created, and that's why I am experiencing. There may be other karmas that I have created because I have taken countless lives in the past. So I better engage in purification practice so that I don't have to undergo such experiences again. So main thing is, as a Bodhisattva practitioner, as a Mahayana practitioner, no matter what others do to us, we should never forget them. We should never, diminish our compassion. So when we encounter such experiences, we should be able to develop stronger or greater compassion, because we see that that person is doing because of the afflictive emotions within him or her. It is the anger, it is the greed, it is the jealousy that is doing all this. The person has no control over it. He was kind of a hostage, taken hostage by these afflictive emotions. So when we see this, instead of getting angry, we should be like feeling greater compassion towards the person, because you know that what the result would be. Because of his actions, that person would suffer in the future. So that's why it's a cherish him, especially like a mother does her child who is taken by the sickness. So this is the practice of Bodhisattvas. This is Bodhisattvas' practice of transforming betrayal into the path. Now transforming derision into the path. Rangdang nyambam membe kewu yi nga ge wangi nyetab chenayang lama shendu kube tani gi chiwuru lemba gyase laklen yins. If an equal or inferior person disparages you out of pride, place him as you would place your spiritual teacher, with respect on the crown of your head. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. This is when we are kind of looked down by others because of their pride, when we were made the object of ridicule or mockery. So how should we react to them? Here it says that place him as you would place your spiritual teacher, with respect on the crown of your head. Lama shindu kube tanigi chiwuru lembas. So we should offer, instead of getting angry and responding likewise, it says we should place that person on our crown, on the crown of our head, the way we would place our spiritual teacher. So this is again same. First of all, when we see such person, a person who, out of pride, who arrogant people, whom they think highly of themselves, and normally those who disparages us or look down upon us, so they are the ones who are really feeling that this inferiority. But in order to inflate their ego, in order to make them feel better, they do all this. So when we see the reason why they are doing, so actually they are the object of compassion. We feel, of course this is not the right word, but for the lack of term, we feel pity for the person. He feels so inferior. He feels so insecure that he or she has to do this. So that's kind of, you feel sorry for the person. So when this happens, this is also another common occurrence. So these Lojong practices, these are really relevant because they are not, they are not giving examples of some imaginary situations. These are common occurrences which we see all the time, which we encounter all the time. And then giving these specific examples, it teaches us how to cope. So when we see this, we should see them as our spiritual teacher, because when we observe that behavior, we should learn not to be like them. Yeah, many times we say that, oh, I hope I am not like him. I hope I don't act like this person. We say that often. So when we see such a person, so there should be a lesson for us not to be like that person. And also the same way, that person, what do you call, when we are, normal reaction is when we are treated that way, we get angry. And then that provides the opportunity for us to practice patience. And because of that, directly or indirectly, that person is involved in our practice to achieve enlightenment. And also, as in the Langri Tangpa's Lojong, that we should see all sentient beings as the wish-fulfilling jewel. So others are indispensable in our achieving enlightenment. If we take out others from the equation, there is no enlightenment. There is no nirvana. There's no renunciation. There's no compassion. There's no bodhicitta. And there's not even a good rebirth. Remember, in order to secure a good rebirth, the minimum requirement is to observe ethical discipline, especially the abstaining from the 10 non-virtue. The 10 non-virtue, for instance, the first one, not killing, refraining from the action of killing. If there are no other beings, there is no way to restrain ourselves from killing others. So that virtue of restraining or abstaining from killing requires another person. Same goes with stealing. Same goes with sexual misconduct. And then also the 4. So without sentient beings, we cannot even observe ethical discipline. Without ethical discipline, there is no good rebirth. And then, of course, when we talk about enlightenment, we need compassion. Compassion is focused on others' suffering, other sentient beings, wishing others to be free of their pain and suffering. And bodhicitta is about achieving enlightenment for the sake of other sentient beings. So if we take out other sentient beings, there is no compassion, there is no bodhicitta. Without compassion and bodhicitta, there is no enlightenment, no Buddhahood. So others play an important role. That is from the spiritual point of view. But from the conventional, just a common sense, from the common sense point of view, others are indispensable in our lives, even though sometimes we think that we are self-made, we are independent. But that's not true. Even now you are tuning into this talk, and whatever gadget you are using, whether it be an iPhone, iPad, computer, these are hard work put in by others. Even if we have a cash, but if others were not there to do this, we wouldn't have the luxury to have these devices, these gadgets. Even money that we think that it is our money, where did it come from? You didn't grow in your garden. It didn't fall from the sky. You got it through somebody else, through a company, the place where you work. That is from another person. For a company to be successful, you need all the other peoples working together. So there is so much contribution from other people. The person other than yourself. So from the conventional point of view, others are important. Others have played enormous role. The house we live in, the clothes that we wear, all through others' effort. So when we encounter such situations, it is good to remind us that others are like wish-fulfilling jewel. So as I mentioned earlier, thinking this way may not really prevent the other person from deriding us, but it will reduce the effect or impact on our mind. Actually, it is the mind. Others' criticism, as we talked before, others' criticism, it does not hurt physically. When somebody says a nasty insult, when somebody hurls an unpleasant insult at us, physically we are not harmed. We feel the hurt because we take custody of that. And then we interpret. And it is actually the mental workings that made that kind of turned into hurtful things. So all these methods, all this approach, all these ways will help us deal with the mental interpretation. And remember in Shantideva's text, Simjen namda gyawale sanje chudrup dawala gela kuichir teshendu ani Simjen la min chi chulus. We revere Buddhas, we make prostrations, we make offerings. Because by doing all this, we will become Buddha. We will achieve enlightenment. And Shantideva says, if that is your reason, then you say you should do the same treatment. You should accord the same treatment to sentient beings as well, because sentient beings are also the ones that enables us to achieve enlightenment. So why are we making this big distinction? Whereas when it comes to Buddha, we have so much respect and reverence. But when it comes to other sentient beings, we just deride and no respect. So when if an equal or inferior person disparages you out of pride, place him as you would place your spiritual teacher, with respect on the crown of your head. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. That's number 17. And now transforming poverty into the path. Chowe pongshin dagdu mi nye sabjin nedang tuanji tabjang lar 조군 티도 달라 렌지징 슈바메바 gyalse la lenyins. I forgot to mention one point. This is, I think, important. Here it says, Kiduk di zunyin rangi lo chu she ma she yins. This is very good. So kiduk means happiness or suffering. It says it's zunyin means it's like a falsehood, it's like an illusion. It doesn't have its own objective entity. So happiness is actually kind of a, from the emptiness point of view, is saying that there's no objectively happiness, there's no objectively suffering. It is all about how we interpret rangi loche she machines. Loche she machines. So how we interpret the situation. Some people, like great practitioners, they are happy when they befall with sickness or misfortune, because to them this is a great opportunity to practice or to transform this into the path. And for people, for real practitioners, this serves as a reminder to practice Dharma more seriously. Remember, when it comes to the distinction between a real Dharma practitioner or non-Dharma practitioner, is that it says that Kenyi Tokdu Pabdu Chebe Suk. Sorry. What is the first line? Kenyi Tokdu Pabdu Tame Suk. What is that first one? Anyway, the meaning is that Toda Nyeme Chudu Chebe Suk. Kenyi Tokdu Pabdu Tame Suks. So when things are great, when life is going well, the sun is shining, you are not hungry, resources are in abundance, then you claim yourself a practitioner. When misfortune befalls, when adversity befalls, then you become ordinary, it says. That's completely the opposite. If one is a real practitioner, so it should be the opposite. When misfortune befalls, when we are faced with challenges, then we should really be able to show that you are a practitioner. When you are able to cope well, when you are able to apply all those Dharma instructions, that shows that you are a real practitioner. So many of us, when things are going well, we think that we are a practitioner, while we will meditate on compassion, we will say and do all kinds of things. But when sickness befalls us, when misfortune befalls us, then it's like we will be, what is the word? Grumbling and complaining, and then getting into this pity me thing. The, what do you call pity me, is it? Yeah. So this differentiates a real practitioner from others. So, and also it says when it comes to what do you call it, others inflicting harm on us. So to be able to restrain harming others is a Dhamma practice. But if we are able to do, we were able to go further than just restraining harm by helping the harm doer, that makes our practice Mahayana practice. Not just stopping at not retaliating, but on top of that, helping the other person, helping the harm giver. That makes the practice Mahayana practice. So that's, as a Bodhisattva practitioner or Mahayana practitioner, we should try to do that. So I think we better stop here. We will stop at verse 17, and then we will continue next semester. So as a concluding remark, I would like to say that we need to pause and ponder here. So for the past 5 months, since January, every alternate week, we had an hour of discussions on Dhamma topics. We have covered the chapter of conscientiousness, and now we are halfway through the 37 practices of Bodhisattva. So now I want all of you to pause and ponder why I am tuning into these teachings. What is the motivation behind this? Why I am doing this? So we need to really ask that question. Sometimes in the midst of all this, we forget the main purpose, why we are doing this. So I think for most of us, it is because that we want happiness. For some, happiness in this life, and some even further, happiness in future lives. So now, how does it enable us? So we need to think about what have we discussed, what have we learned in these past 5 months? What are the takeaways from all this? How did you benefit from this? How did you apply this into your life, into your daily situations? What changes did all these hours of listening brought in your life? So we need to really kind of examine that. Or is it just that spend 1 hour tuning in and then that's that? Okay, class finish. I'm done for the week. Next week, okay, tune in. That's it. I've listened. Oh, I've covered this. We have covered the chapter on this, chapter or that. If that is the only thing, then you have not fulfilled the purpose, the real reason for tuning into these classes. So it is very important to ask these questions. and then try to answer. If you find that you haven't done anything except just listening to, then you should tell yourself that in order to fulfill the purpose, you need to do beyond, or you need to do more than just tuning into these talks. Memang sangshi pangba te lang ne neba tsowar kyuwe me thum. Mengi malnye, mengi malen, membe manye de neba ranyi kine nyeba yins. If a person is sick and if he or she goes to see a doctor, let's say he finds a specialist, a very experienced doctor, and then after examining, he diagnoses whatever the cause, and then he prescribes a very expensive, very effective medicine. However, if the person does not take the medicine, there will be no recovery. The illness will not be cured. When this happens, it says that it is not the fault of the doctor, neither it is not the fault of the doctor, nor the ineffectiveness of the medicine. The only person to be blamed is the person himself or herself, because he or she did not take the pills, did not take the medicine. Without taking the medicine, there is no way. So it's same applies here. All these teachings are great, like Shantideva's teaching. The teachings that we covered are not like those philosophical teachings. Philosophical teachings, first of all, it is hard to understand. Even when you understand, it is difficult to apply into our daily lives. Whereas these Lojong teachings are really relevant in our daily life. There are ample of opportunity to apply these teachings. So if we don't apply, if we don't even try, then how can you expect a change or transformation? So I'm just reminding with the hope that sometimes people need a bit of a push, a bit of a reminder. And I always believe that my saying all this can help you be more conscious. Even for one day, I feel that my saying, the purpose of my saying has served its purpose. So we have 1 month break. During that time, you can either do revision or you can just choose one stanza at a time and then decide to apply that. You can even print and bring with you at work or wherever you go, or you can in the office, you can just print that and stick onto some conspicuous area where you would see it, and then read it and remind yourself all the time, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I will try my best. I will do this. And as I mentioned earlier, it won't be successful at the beginning. You may not even remember, but if you are persistent, then there will come a day where you are able to apply the brake to your normal reaction, and then will be able to respond in a Dharma way. So that way you benefit, the other person will also benefit, everybody will benefit. So we should start all this from our family first, in our family first. Sometimes we get this misconception that when we talk of applying these Dharma practices, we always think outside our family. It's like we don't need to apply this in our family. That is not true. We should first begin in our family, especially those who have a big family. There are so many occasions where really these applications are needed. So you first try in your family and then extend to your neighbor or to your workplace, and then slowly to everybody. So that would be a very meaningful, because when you apply that in your family, the harmony, the relationship will improve. Even if you are the only one who is applying this, definitely they will have an effect, and slowly and hopefully they will have a ripple effect. And then it's so nice. You are already a family member. You have to live together. Why not live happily? And we know about the uncertainty of death. So there are many people who regret after one loses their loved ones. That's too late. That's kind of stupid. When the person is alive, improve the relationship. If you have damaged relationship, repair. And try. And so in this kind, as we have discussed before, expectation is a hindrance. When we expect, I am going to apply this and I expect the other person to improve, suddenly become a better person. That will not happen. That may not happen. But nonetheless, one should continue doing that. Because when one does that, definitely if there are arguments, squabbles, it will be mitigated. Because normally this one says something, another says something, and then, you see, to and fro. Whereas when you have only one person saying that, one is like this, is like a soundboard. It's absorbing all that sound, and slowly, slowly it vanishes, diminishes that sound. So let's try. So that's why I always tell young people, like teenagers, those who are not keen into studying Buddhism, whereas their parents want them to do so. Sometimes their parents nag so much that it pushes them further away. So when I meet with this group of people or young people, I always tell them to wear their the researcher's cap or the investigator's hat. I tell them that because they are brought up in an education system that encourages examination, analysis, research. So use that in Buddhism as well. You first study Buddhism, put them into practice, what Buddhism say about, and only then you say that I don't like. It doesn't make sense. It's like you never know whether the food is tasty or not without tasting it first. So likewise, we should put them into practice. We should put them into scrutiny and then see whether it works or not. When we do that, first of all, it enables us to really practice what we study. And then I am definitely sure that you will see the positive impact. And when you see that, that will encourage you even more, because you will gain this conviction that what the Lojong text says are true if applied properly. So let's try to do this. I will try my best. I'm not just leaving it to you. I will try my best, and you all try your best, and then we will see together we can progress into the Dhamma path. Thank you, and we will let you know how we are going to proceed with the next semester, whether it's going to be online or in person. I think until fall is most likely online classes, and then from fall maybe we can meet in person, because the place we meet is not that big. It's a small area, small place. So anyway, that's for later discussion. And thank you and take care. And before we conclude this, let's make a strong dedication of the merits we have accumulated over the past 5 months. Definitely, we all tune it with good motivation, especially at the beginning of each session, we generate bodhicitta. So we must have accumulated quite a strong merit. So let's dedicate that. So how do we dedicate? So of course, we all know that we must always dedicate any merits to become the causes and conditions to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So first we will dedicate all our merits to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, to be able to liberate and help and provide all the goodness and the happiness to all sentient beings. And Buddhahood is not something that you can achieve instantly. It takes time. So in order to achieve that, we need to go through many lifetimes, practices of many lifetimes. And we need to have facilities to be able to practice Dhamma. So first we dedicate our merits to achieve enlightenment, and then until we achieve that, may we also achieve optimum human rebirth to practice Dhamma. And not only achieve optimum human rebirth, we must meet Buddha Dhamma. So we also dedicate towards meeting Dhamma all our lifetimes, and also to meet qualified Mahayana teachers, so that we will follow the Mahayana practices, Mahayana paths. And then in order to successfully practice all this, we need resources and facilities, so we can also dedicate towards having adequate resources to be able to practice Dharma. Okay, so let's say few lines of prayers, and then that's the way we should dedicate our merits. Tagi jini zaube gyawa de dendan jowa kunla kangpen dan kebara chuzun losan taba yi tenbe nyingbu ringdo seje sho jambe bawu chedar kemba dan kundu sambu tenyang tejen do teda kungi Jesu talo jen gyawan deda tamje rabdu ngo tuzun shewe gyawa tamje ki ngowa kanla chodu ngaba de dagi gewe zawan degun gyan sambo shechi rabdu ngo war ki pama simjin tamje tedan tengyu je Nyendro damje daudu tongwar shu chanju senpa kana sushu ba teda kunji Melam drub gyuru chi kyawa kundu yangdan lama dan jeme shuji pela longju je sadan lamdi yunden rabzon doje zangye ngobang yu dobo sho chanju simjo rinpo che maji panam kegyu che keba nyamba mebay Gongne gondo pewar sho toni tawa rinpo che maji panam kegyu che keba nyamba mebay Kone kondo pewar sho. Thank you.